Good morning, and thank you for joining us here at the Tennessee Aquarium for an extra special Holidays Under the Peaks when we're going to be meeting an extra special guest. Lots of special this morning. Santa will be joining us here in just a little bit. We're waiting for him to enter the water. Oh, and actually, I think there he is. Our dive safety officer and manager of dive operations, Mark Craven, will be down here momentarily to join us. But in the meantime, as you all watch Santa doing his thing here in the Tennessee River Gallery, see if maybe he'll wave at us. While you're watching, if you have any questions about what's going on, or just want to tell us maybe what you asked for Christmas, type it down in the comments, and we'll have just a fun Christmas time discussion. This is always a pretty special moment for us. We're always happy to have Santa here at the aquarium for these SCUBA Claus events. And since we're all here together, why don't you give us shout outs, let us know where you're watching from. Santa obviously is a very popular guy all over the world. We're happy that he can spare some time to drop by the Tennessee Aquarium to feed some fish and talk to all of you. Well, not really talk. His microphone is not working, but Mark will be filling some dead air for us, hopefully, here in just a little bit. As soon as he gets down, he had to make sure Santa made it into the water okay. Good morning, Jane. Thank you for joining us from Florida. Sherry, thank you for joining us a lot closer to home here, Chickamauga, Georgia. Beth says Nina is hoping for, oh no, all the comments are coming in too quick, for Lego horses and turtles for Christmas. Now that would be special. I hope that she's let Santa know, and if not, maybe we can do something to pass that along once he gets out of the water. Luke, thank you for joining us from Ohio. A lot of people all over the country. That's great. Yeah, these dives are very special moments. We only get to do a couple of them a year, but it is always special to see people, especially Santa, in our tanks. You'll also notice that we have some volunteers here alongside the Big Elf. We really could not operate without the help of volunteers like those who are in the water right now helping to feed the fish and maintain the tanks, because you can't clean the inside of acrylic from the visitor side. So without their help, it would not be a very pleasant viewing experience, and our staff would have to work quite a bit harder. So our volunteers are really sort of indispensable. There we go. Santa, here he is. All right, so we should have Mark here in just a little bit. Rachel Brooks says Mrs. Franklin's class and Mrs. Brooks' class at Cherokee Ridge Elementary are joining us. Thank you all so much for watching along with us. I hope you enjoy seeing Santa in the tank as much as we do. And it looks like Mark Craven is here. It's a little dark on this side of the gallery. I'm very sorry about that. But Mark, what is it like having Santa here to visit us?
This is a special occasion for sure. We're so happy every year when we get the phone call that Santa wants to come down and have a little bit of a holiday in warmer climes before his big event of the year. So this is kind of a tropical vacation for the great elf. Even in his busiest time of year, he has time to have a little bit of fun and come see us.
Now, when people dive at the aquarium, how do they have to have certification, and does that certification have to be kept up? How recently would Santa have had to have his skills tested?
Well, clearly he has to have a certification to dive, but we did a little bit of a brush up with his skills and a skills evaluation. You know, Santa has a pretty good amount of downtime throughout the year, so he's in the water somewhere in the world fairly regularly. So his dive skills are pretty good, pretty well maintained. As far as our volunteer divers go, we've got about 190 volunteers that help us out in scuba diving here at the aquarium to feed the fish and maintain the exhibits and those sorts of things. And we do require, when individuals come into our volunteer program, that they are certified to dive, that they're also certified in first aid and CPR, just in the event that we need those skills. And we do quite a bit of training on an ongoing basis here at the aquarium in terms of the activities that we do underwater, which really are kind of different than what the average sport diver does.
What would some of those activities do or be? What is extra special about diving here that maybe is different from sport diving?
Well, first of all, we are working underwater. We're accomplishing tasks rather than just swimming across a beautiful reef and looking at the fish. So there are skills involved with feeding fish properly and being able to identify which groups of fish so that they get the appropriate foods. We also do some cleaning in the water. We scrub the algae off the rock work and the decor. We scrub the acrylic windows to make sure that they are allowing our visitors to get a full view of the tank inhabitants. And then we also do some other things like vacuuming the gravel beds in the exhibits and those sorts of things. And you know, you don't learn how to do those things in a basic sport diver certification course. So learning how to use the tools that we need to accomplish those tasks takes a little bit of time here as well.
Now, we're not asking Santa to do any of those tasks this morning. I suppose if he wanted to, he could, but right now it's just more of a leisure dive.
Yes, this is, again, a chance for him to relax a little bit, chill out, get away from the hustle and bustle of the North Pole as his folks are preparing for the big day coming up in a couple of weeks.
All right, well, let's catch up here on some of these comments. Daniel Jones says, "I wish for happiness for all during these joyous of days," from Douglasville, Georgia. Thank you, Daniel. I am sure that everyone who is watching joins you in those wishes. We all could certainly use some peace and goodwill on earth, right now and always. Monica Tether says 4-year-old Pike and 1-year-old Marley are watching from Hickson. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. Good morning from Nashville, from Tiffany Ragland. Thank you for joining us from the central part of Tennessee. Jane Cash says, born in Chattanooga, love the aquarium. Yes, the aquarium is an extra special place. It's one of those Chattanooga icons. The city would certainly not be the same without it there. Kelly Elliott is joining us from Woodstock, Georgia. Says, my girls would like a telescope and Peppa Pig. Excellent choices. My son would also love a telescope, I'm sure. I'll have to see if I can pass that on to Santa. Telescope or a microscope? One way or the other. Macro or micro? Looks like we've got Alexandra Mosley is joining us from Cleveland, Tennessee, with Ellis. Good morning to you. We'll pass on good morning to Santa. Again, Santa's microphone is not working. He did not offer more explanations than just to say that there are reindeer involved. Sherry Taylor says, my girls are loving this. Sherry, we're so glad that your girls are enjoying this. We obviously enjoy this. As Mark was saying, we always look forward to getting that call from Santa that he wants to come down and take a dip in one of our many exhibits. Now, Mark, you have been here at this point for, is it more than 20 years?
Yes, actually, I've been here about 25 years, a little over 25 years.
So a long time. You have been, I'm sure, in every diveable exhibit in this aquarium.
Absolutely, and probably some that people would consider not diveable.
Now, we're here in the Tennessee River Gallery. If you're joining us and have never been to the aquarium, this is an exhibit that focuses on the wildlife and aquatic life that you would find right outside our doors in the Tennessee River, which flows right behind the aquarium. But is there an aquarium exhibit that is extra special to you for any particular reason?
Actually, it's this one that Santa's in right now, our Tennessee River exhibit, for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm a freshwater enthusiast. That's what got me here to begin with. My background's in freshwater fisheries biology. So these animals that are on exhibit in the Tennessee River exhibit are my bread and butter. They're what drew me to the aquatic world to begin with. And secondly, this was the first exhibit I ever was able to dive in so many years ago. And so it holds a little bit more special place for me. But there are some other exhibits that are really fun to dive in. In our Ocean Journey building, our Secret Reef exhibit, 618,000 gallons of salt water that's absolutely crystal clear and home to large shark species such as sand tigers and sandbar sharks. And being able to swim up close to those guys is pretty special as well. You know, when we dive in the ocean, as we step off the back of the boat and make all that commotion entering the water, it tends to scare the fish away, and you see a lot of tail fins swimming away from you. But here at the exhibit, in the exhibits at the aquarium, the fish actually come to us. So it's a much different experience being in an exhibit rather than being in open water.
I was going to say there are quite a few curious, maybe less so now than when we first started, but Santa was almost mobbed when he got in the water earlier. It looked like
and the other divers had entered with food, so
that's true. They are a little distracted.
The fish just a little bit. So
should we see if we can get Santa to move? If it couldn't hurt those of you who are joining us to see a little bit more of this beautiful exhibit. I don't know if we can gesture for him to move somewhere else. It looks like he's catching our hand signals.
Yeah, he's going to get turned around there.
Now, while we're walking, we'll look at a few more of these comments. Maybe we should go to the deep side of the exhibit.
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Okay, well, Mark will join us here in a second. But Monica Tedder, sorry, if there's nothing that's true about this morning, it will be that I will butcher names left, right, and center. So I apologize for that. But Monica says that Pike is wanting Jurassic World toys, and Marley would like a baby doll. I hope that both of those wishes come true. And again, Santa, I'm sure, is going to be checking this live feed after he resurfaces. All right, looks like Santa is making his way over. Lynette Jarvinen says that John Thomas is watching from Madison, Alabama. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you for joining us from down in Alabama. Beth Holly says, Laura Holly says, hello to Santa's helpers. Well, I'm sure they appreciate that. Again, as Mark said, we've got some volunteers in the tank as well who are feeding. Now, what are they feeding them, Mark?
The animals here at the aquarium get a variety of seafood items that we get from restaurant suppliers. Being this far inland, it's a little bit difficult for us to get some seafood. But our biologists evaluate the diets that these fish would normally eat in the wild, and we try to mimic those from a nutritional standpoint as closely as we can with the restaurant quality seafood that we have available to us. So if you watch our divers feed the fish, you'll see a variety of food items being fed. Small silverside fish, we have shrimp, we have krill, which are a small shrimp type animal. We also, you may notice the green cubes, it looks like. That's actually a gelatin-based vegetarian diet. So there's quite a variety, and we try to make it as nutritionally balanced as we can.
And it looks like they are specifically targeting. I mean, they're not just depositing lots of food in the water. They're very specifically feeding certain species. Can you talk a little bit about why they would be doing that?
Yes, absolutely. Just like a dog or cat or horse that we may be responsible for taking care of and making sure they get the proper care, fish need proper care as well, and they have specific diet requirements, and they have specific food amount requirements to maintain healthy body compositions and and keep themselves physically fit, if you will. So we do monitor food intake for all of our animals to ensure that they get proper nutrition. And, you know, fish aren't able to tell us when they don't feel well. So one of the key triggers that someone might be having an issue and may need a special look at by the veterinarian or something would be that their feeding habits change drastically. So we're all monitoring this constantly as we take care of the animals, just to make sure we're doing what they need us to do for them.
Now, speaking of taking care of the animals, do you think, I mean, I don't know, would you be okay if Santa fed any of our residents here of the Tennessee River Gallery?
Yeah,
if we can communicate that to him?
If we can do that, maybe we can go back around to the shallow side and he can feed some of the small animals.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Well, we'll go walk about one more time. And while we're doing that, I should point out that we also here at the aquarium have wishes for our animals, and that includes, you know, seeing to their daily care, as Mark was talking about. And you'll notice on your screen there is a donate button. And if you would like to give a gift to the aquarium at this time of year, we would welcome a donation to our Emergency Operations Fund, which is how that was established earlier this year for reasons that probably make sense to most of you. It's been a pretty challenging year for us, but that Emergency Operations Fund was established to help us kind of offset that financial difficulty of having to stay closed for almost 3 months earlier this year. And it does go directly to animal care. So any donation you make to that would be very much appreciated and would go towards that most worthy of causes. So thank you to those of you who can see fit to give to us at this time of year. We would definitely appreciate it. So catching up on a few more of these comments, it looks like Becky Yorman is watching from Wetumpka, Alabama, and says, hoping to get up there next week. Annual pass is definitely the way to go, folks. The annual pass is definitely a good value for money. If you're going to make more than one trip to the aquarium, it basically pays for itself out on the second visit. So it looks like we may be able to communicate to Santa that he is going to try his hand at feeding some animals. Maybe we'll see how they respond to that. So what is he holding, Mark? What is that?
Those are specially designed feeding buckets that were built by one of our volunteers that allow us to transport the food into the water and relegate who gets what. The food items that you see Santa with, there's some krill floating around there, some small silverside fish, some of that green gel food, and those food items are for those sunfish, those bluegill and red breast sunfish, as well as some of the smaller black bass, the largemouth and smallmouth and spotted bass.
Which you can, I think I probably got a sunfish or a couple of sunfish here in the view.
Yeah, those are bluegill you had in the viewfinder there.
All right. Looks like Bonnie Richards Bloomberg says, I thought that was a comment, but Bonnie, thank you for joining us along with, looks like Liz Anderson and Becky Yorman. Thank you for joining us. So many of you are joining us. We really appreciate you tuning in to this special Holidays Into the Peaks live chat with SCUBA Claus. Again, as Mark was saying, it's always a special moment when we're able to get Santa here in the exhibits. And at this time of year, his schedule's pretty full up, but he could spare a little bit of time this morning to join us, and we're always happy to have him. Brett Baker says that 3-year-old Brent and 1-year-old Sophie are watching from Athens, Tennessee. Good morning, Merry Christmas. Good morning, Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you very much. Jay Maddox says Highland Plaza Preschool is watching from Chattanooga. We're very happy to have all of you here with us, and I'm sure that Santa has received whatever communiques you have sent as far as what you would like for Christmas. And again, we wish that we could get him on the horn here, but again, Rogue Reindeer, there's no telling what they're going to do to microphone equipment, so we'll have to content ourselves with watching him enjoying himself here in the Tennessee River Gallery and Tennessee River exhibit. So Beth Kapoff, boy, again, apologies if I've ruined last names. It's not on purpose. Says Michael is hoping for a Lego Ocean Explorer ship for Christmas, and Hannah is hoping for Lego Pandas and Turtles. Well, I, as a big fan of Lego myself, I certainly approve of that. Oh, and you're watching from Cumming, Georgia. Well, I have lots of family down there myself, so thank you for tuning in from just north of Atlanta. We are happy to have you. Mrs. Hinkle says that she and her first grade class are joining us from Cherokee Ridge. Oh, that's so great that you're able to join us. Looks like Santa's trying to show off. What is this, krill?
That's a krill.
So, Mark, when you're in the tank and you're doing as Santa is doing, and you've got food, what is it like in terms of the response from the animals?
At first, as you can imagine, they're super excited to start getting their food, just as our dogs or cats are if when we fill up that bowl initially. But as they begin to get satiated throughout the feeding dive, things slow down a little bit. And I think that's what we're witnessing here. The fish aren't quite as excited because their bellies are full.
Now, we are feeding earlier in the day. That's something that we kind of started doing earlier this year just to kind of make sure that physical distancing was still possible. I didn't want to have too much overcrowding. Did they respond to the change in the time of day that they were being fed?
There was a transition period for sure, and we were able to move that feeding time gradually, stepwise, but they have fully adjusted now, and the feeding behaviors that we're seeing during our 9 o'clock feeds are the exact same as they were during the later feeds previously.
Ooh, Liz Ambrose is watching, and Liz, boy, you are going to have to forgive me because my state abbreviations are not what they should be, and I'm not sure if that's Great Falls, Montana. I'm guessing it may be. It sounds like a Montana name. But regardless, thank you for joining us from Great Falls. We're glad that you love the aquarium. We love all of our special guests. We'll see if we can gesture Santa over to this window so maybe it's a little easier to see what's going on. But again, even though the star of the show today happens to be Santa, as Mark was saying, there is no substitute for our volunteer divers. If we didn't have them, the aquarium would not be the place that it is. Their efforts are tremendously helpful to the daily operation of the aquarium and to ensuring that the experience you have when you come to visit is as good as it possibly can be. They make sure that our exhibits look their best, and as Mark was saying, also see to the care of the animals in their own way by monitoring who's eating and how much and all of those sorts of things, to help us keep an eye on everyone who lives here and make sure that they're all doing well. Randy Ayers says Brim is watching from Oneonta, Alabama. Again, probably mispronounced the city name too, so I might have just offended an entire community. But we love SCUBA Claus. Well, thank you for joining us. It's always a special holiday tradition here at the aquarium, and we certainly love to have him as well. Kim Sheffer says, hi, Santa, from Tyler. Again, we will pass it on. Santa will undoubtedly be looking back at this chat log after he resurfaces. So any of those wishes to Santa will get passed on, even if he reads it after the fact. Now, are there any particularly voracious animals in this exhibit? Do any of them like to eat more than the others, or are more enthusiastic about eating than the others?
We do have a couple of groups of animals in here that are more eager feeders than others, and those are typically the bass species. This exhibit is home to black bass, such as largemouth and smallmouth bass. They really like to eat. And it's also home to some white bass species, or hybrid striped bass, actually, and they're very eager feeders. They have no problems whatsoever bullying themselves into the feeding buckets and trying to get as much as they possibly can. But they have higher nutritional requirements than some of the other animals in here as well, so they need a little bit more food.
I am a little bit surprised, I have to admit, that we haven't seen any turtles hanging out on Santa's shoulders, because the turtles can also be, they can almost bug you, it looks like, when you're in the water. They hang out and try and get in the feed bucket.
The turtles do show quite a bit of interest in us, particularly if, as a diver, you sit still for any length of time. They tend to use us as a perch. So perhaps Santa's just moving around a little bit too much to attract one of them. There's a beautiful lake sturgeon there.
That's actually a good shot of their mouths, which it's, if you haven't been to the aquarium and maybe you've only seen pictures of lake sturgeon, you might think that their mouths are different in a different place than they are. And what Santa just showed is that their mouth is in a very different part of their body. It's on the underside of their body. And watching them eat is really quite cool. It's almost like looking at a suction hose.
It absolutely feels like a suction hose too. They literally slurp their food out of your hand, and their teeth are actually way back in their throat. They have what's called pharyngeal teeth that they use to crush up their food. So there's no concern about getting bit or anything like that. It's a fairly interesting sensation the first time or two that you feed a sturgeon, as that vacuum suction that they use is relatively strong.
I should take a moment to acknowledge we have just had a couple of very generous donations. Thank you so much. That money is, as I mentioned earlier, going directly to fund the Emergency Operations Fund. It is funding a fund, which again was established earlier this year to help offset some of the financial difficulties that we've had. You know, as a nonprofit, this has been a pretty challenging year for us, as it has been for a lot of people. And that fund was established to let people who would like to voluntarily show their support for the aquarium to do so, and to help in their own way to help care for the animals. So thank you so much for those very generous donations. That goes towards an excellent cause and is a wonderful gift at any time of year, but especially right now during holidays into the peaks. It just seems very apropos. Thank you so much. Heather Turner says, good morning from Miles Turner. Well, good morning to you and to Miles. Thank you so much for joining us and for tuning in for this extra special SCUBA Claus live stream. I can't say enough how special this is for us here at the aquarium. The season would not feel right if we didn't get to see Santa get in our exhibits, take some time out of his very busy schedule to come dive with us. We do enjoy it. It makes the season what it is. Vicky Lee says, East Texas here, lived in Chattanooga for 10 years. Well, we're sorry we lost you, but thank you for joining us digitally. That's the wonderful thing about these live streams, is that through technology, those of you who are fans of the aquarium, whether you're here in Chattanooga or close by or all the way around the world, can join in and see some of the animals and feel that connection to nature that is the heart and soul of why we do what we do. Looks like Santa has emptied his bucket, so it looks like we might be done with the feeding for now. And it might be about time for us to go ahead and say goodbye to Santa and wrap up this latest SCUBA Claus. But rest assured, this will not be the last time that Santa visits the aquarium. I'm sure he will make repeat appearances in the future. So next holiday season, you'll be able to check him out one more time. Amy Carr says, Hetty from Henry County, Georgia. My girls want Barbie dolls and Fosh. I don't know what Fosh is, and I have kids, so I feel like I'm falling down on the job here. Rob Allen's watching from Detroit, Michigan, lived in Chattanooga and loved the aquarium. Well, I hope you still love the aquarium, but thank you for past love, if not current love. Laura Morgan says, just bought a membership to the aquarium for our daughter, excited for our first visit during the holiday break. That is a wonderful, wonderful gift, and we're excited to have you. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Oh, we have diving ducks, as Mark just pointed out. Mark, can you talk about, I don't want to end the live stream now that we've had a diving duck. What did we just see?
We saw a hooded merganser come down and try to take a little bit of food. Here he comes again. So they'll come down and grab food from the divers on occasion. That's a fairly natural behavior for them in the wild. We actually have a couple of ducks in the Tennessee River exhibit that are both divers. So it's always fun when they come down and interact with us during our feeding dives.
Now, this is one of those special, if you work at the aquarium or you're here and a member, as some of the people who are watching are, you get a chance to see things that are more rare occurrences. I work here, obviously, and it's still a delight for me every time I see a duck dive underwater, because it just looks so, there he goes again. It looks so bizarre. But again, if you're a member of the aquarium, you have the opportunity to come and take your time and really slow down and appreciate the things that you don't normally see unless you're very lucky during a normal visit. Now, even if it's your first visit, everything's going to seem special and cool, and it's gonna stick out to you in your mind. But the nice thing about being a member, again, is that you get a chance to see those things that just don't happen every day. Diving ducks being just one example. Courtney Leroy says, James Edward and Bella Renee from Birchwood, Tennessee are joining us. Thank you so much for watching. Is Santa picking up food off the substrate, Mark?
He is. There's a bit of that food got away from him just a little bit, and so he's picking some stuff up. And rest assured, it'll be cleaned up. Some of our bottom feeders, such as the buffalo that are in your shot right there, will make short work of vacuuming that food up off the substrate. That's how they feed. So we do try to mimic their natural feeding behaviors as much as we can.
Well, as Mark was talking about earlier, the lake sturgeon are doing their thing also on the substrate. Down there at the bottom feeders. Substrate's one of those science words that you hear a lot here at the aquarium, but essentially means the bottom of the tank, the material at the bottom of the tank. Fife Farms says, hi from 2-year-old Liam Fife from Pineville. Hello and good morning to both of you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Trevor Ehrlich says, 6-year-old Jason and 4-year-old Justin are watching from Ottawa. They are wondering, have the fish and sharks already been fed today? Mark, have they been fed?
Well, we're currently wrapping up a feeding dive here in our Tennessee River exhibit. As far as the sharks go, they have been fed this morning as well. They get fed about 9 o'clock in the morning. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Secret Reef exhibit, where our large sharks are, gets fed 3 days a week, and that's plenty of food for them to have a healthy diet.
And you mentioned that we do it on alternating days, and it might seem like, oh my gosh, why are they not feeding the animals every day? The animals are probably going hungry. Not the case in the wild. They wouldn't be fed, they wouldn't eat necessarily every day either in the wild.
No, not at all. And, research shows us that there are shark species that can go months between meals, actually. We got to remember that these fish species are cold-blooded, and because of that, their metabolisms aren't nearly as fast as ours. They don't burn the calories that we burn because they're not having to keep themselves thermoregulated. They're not having to keep their body temperature up like we do as mammals. So they just don't need as much food as we need, and therefore they don't feed nearly as often as we do.
All right. Well, it looks like Deborah Garza says Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for the well wishes. Merry Christmas to you as well, Deborah. And yes, I do think now is probably a good time for us to wrap up the live stream. Wanted one more time to say thank you so much to those of you who have donated to that. You press that donate button on the screen because, again, that does support the Emergency Operations Fund. And in case you're tuning in late, it's one of the ways that we're making sure that we're offsetting that financial difficulty of remaining open for so long this year without any of you here to join us. Even Santa didn't join us during that time. So it was hard for us, but that fund does help offset some of that financial difficulty and is, again, a very, very worthy cause. So thank you all so much for joining us here for Holidays Into the Peaks for this special SCUBA Claus edition of our live streams, our Aquarium at Home live streams. We are so happy to have you. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. And we will see you next time. Mark, thank you so much for being here to answer questions for us.
We always love when you are with us, and we wish you the best of the holiday season.
All right. And we'll say goodbye to Santa. As soon as he looks up again, we'll wave, and then we'll cut this all short. Thank you all so much for joining us.